I'm Angel Zuniga Martinez. That's my contact information there. I enjoy coming and sharing with groups about some of the things that I have come across or know that have worked for me in terms of business marketing. I run a creative agency called PR Story Studios that I launched some years ago. And we started it based off of, as a screenwriter, we were going to do a short film and maybe a feature film. And then the pandemic hit, and then all that production went down. And we got asked by some doctor groups that needed some video, hey, we heard that you do this, can you help us? Oh. And so my background is a marketing major, Texas A&M, 94. Since I was a kid, I'm a creative. I've been writing songs and playing in the band and church. And my brain thinks differently. But I'm also strategic, and I'm really good at math. So my minor was in finance. I wanted to start my own ad agency when I graduated Texas A&M. And it was sort of the tail end of the recession, so it was really hard to get into that field. So I used my minor in finance and became a banker. I'm grateful for it because I met my wife, who's from East Tennessee. 3 kids later, a stopover in Nashville and then in East Tennessee. I got to bank a lot of rich people and see through their eyes as they grew their businesses and made money and did different things. So it was really good insight for me. I left banking. I started several companies in the past, real estate, insurance, learned life lessons through it, let's just say that. And then ended up having a heart for nonprofit and was hired to grow the marketing department for the Boy Scouts of America, Albury Council. So with that, I'd like to go around the room and...
I'm Hillary Kazmer with Will & Kazmer Insurance. I run my mom's office.
I'm Regina Rodriguez, and I'm with El Castillo Restaurant.
I'm Holly Castillo. No relation, I don't think, but...
I'm Darla Royal, and I have Art Rageous just a little ways down here on Goodwin, and it is an art studio. Thank you.
My name's Alena. I am owner of Beauty Permanent Cosmetics. I am a cosmetic tattoo artist.
All right, cool. So we have a very diverse group of folks in business and doing various aspects of marketing. So I will start with a marketing one-on-one sort of an overview of the way I've learned it and that I have found success. And so, big umbrella of business marketing, right? And underneath here you have PR, you have sales, you have research, and you have ads, advertisements, you have communications. Right? You have social media. There's so many things that go underneath the umbrella, and then if you're a small business owner, then you wear all these hats, right? This is a challenge. And so how do you break up your time and your money to all the things? How do you prioritize, right? So this is the way I've prioritized. So ideally, every small business owner should figure out the sweet spot, what their mix is between paid, earned, and owned. Here's my big bias. That means something that I can think about me because I had these experiences, and now, so whatever I say, you know that I have this bias. I very much dislike social media. To the point that I almost hate social media. I don't like the way there's a underlying manipulative thing with it, and sharing of data is not free. And if you have Netflix, you can watch a show called The Social Dilemma that'll even take you down the rabbit hole to the statistics behind it. However, it's a necessary evil, because I also believe the founder of the scouting movement, as I would say that, Baden Powell, used to say, I don't know his exact quote, but something along the lines of, you don't bait the hook with the food you want, you bait the hook with the food that the fish wants. And so with boys or with kids, they want to have fun. So don't put all these regulations in there. Start with fun. Start with these things to engage the activity and the adventure. It's the same thing with sales and marketing. Like, the fish are on social media. There's a lot of eyeballs there. So, as I say this, that's why this is where I prioritize number one. Paid is your traditional advertising, like the show Mad Men. Right? You have money as a business owner, and you spend the money in some marketing mix, or you pay the Pleasanton Express News, or you pay a TV show or a magazine, right? So print, radio, TV, like all, and you figure out how much money you're going to spend on traditional ads. That's called paid. You're paying money for someone else that has a platform to tell your story. Paid media. And that's the way it's been forever and ever. It's all been paid. And then there's priority. Number two in the past then was earned media. Earned is anchored by the news release. And a news release used to be only created by PR people that went to school for it, but anybody can create a news release. It's like in middle school English class where you're like, you're going to capture a news item and you have to put the who, what, where, when, why, how in the first paragraph, right? And then at the end of that news release, you have what's called a boilerplate that is like typically your business mission statement, which also expresses this is who I am as a business, this is what I'm about, and this is the type of customers I look to serve and solve their problem. That's a news release. And earned media is you take these news releases and then you pitch them to reporters. Now in the past, earned media was just the traditional media. Journalists that went to school for journalism and worked at a paper or TV or whatever. But what's happened now is that earned media is no longer just for traditional journalists. Anybody can have a platform and be media. So you can have a blogger or some kind of influencer that has 20,000 followers on Insta or 50,000 followers on Twitter or 1 million followers on TikTok. So influencer marketing is part of earned media now. And then, so I spend, this is number 2 for me. And it's number 2.
So would earned media be also referrals? People that are in the community that have a good following and around the area or others?
So referrals or word of mouth actually falls under this one, owned media.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the oldest media. It's actually the original social media.
Well, I'm saying because now, I mean, they'll share it on social media. Like if they came to your post and
so they're doing that for you.
And they're promoting you that way.
Yes, and that falls, then they're kind of a blogger and reshare. So in that case, yes. But if you go have a coffee somewhere and then you're talking and people like, oh, hey, and you're just networking and stuff, that's what we do. You're owning your own media in your mouth and your handshake and networking. That's the original. That's where it all started. So own media is telling your story on the platforms you control, which is predominantly the main platforms that are your website, newsletter, if you have internal magazines. And it's controversial here for me, but social media is considered, if you go look it up, if social media is on media, a lot of experts consider social media owned media. I do not. And I'll give you an example. It also adds to my bias of my hate for social media. At one point when I was building out the Instagram page for Boy Scouts of America, I had 3,000 or 4,000 followers. I had video clips, I had photos, I had infographics, right? And I had some of it backed up, maybe a third of it. But one day, poof, it's gone. And there's lots of businesses that have a similar story you can look up. And I was like, what happened to my Instagram page? Like, it's gone. Try to call, and it's owned by Facebook. So you call them? No. You email them? No. You have to fill out a form and wait. And then after a little time, it'll respond. You can fill out another form and wait. Never talk to anybody. They finally send me a link saying like, oh, this is why you were taken down. So apparently, and I'm independent, so I don't want to talk politics per se. There's a lot of things going on in life that we can all do. But I tend to always strive to be, especially when I'm in a public relations position, neutral. He posted something to say, go vote, because it was vote time. But somebody took offense to that. We didn't say we could go vote for it. But because somebody thought that was offensive, they reported it, flagged us, and they got taken down. And thought could never get all that content back. So is that owned media? Do I have control of it? No. So to me, and I think it's only going to get worse in terms of cancel culture or different things where someone might say something, you might say something as a business, and someone might get offended. And if you do it on social media, there's a chance it might get taken down, flagged. And so, to me, this is my bias, I always push for small businesses and people that I talk to, please invest as much as you can first on the own media, the platforms you control. But it's a necessary evil to take a social. So the way I do it, let's say like Joseph is filming me. We own this footage, like I can, hey, so we can find a little clip where I say something. We have that on our computer. We can go to our website, prstorystudios.com. We have a blog page. We can say, Angel spoke at City of Pleasanton and talked about business marketing. Here's a little clip where I'm saying own media. So now that's posted on our website that we have control of. Then you take the URL, the link of that blog, and then you push that on social. So then if somebody goes to your social media and they click on it, it takes that eyeball back to your website that you can control. So it's a different flow versus starting on Facebook or starting on TikTok, starting on Insta, and that content is really controlled and owned by them.
It's a double-edged sword.
It's tough because, and you're probably going to talk, we're going to talk about the algorithm.
Yeah.
The algorithm likes and rewards if you start on their platform. So you do have to give them some original content to please their algorithm. The tough thing is that algorithm is constantly changing and nobody actually knows exactly what it is. So have you had some experience with the algorithm or kind of have some insight?
No, I just see social media as a double-edged sword. I mean, you could bomb or you could succeed. It just depends on your audience and your area is what I'm learning, and what the interest is around here or where your main goal is, both point. Because when I first started, I actually, I ran a sale when I first opened my doors. And then I paid to boost my ad. And when I paid to boost my ad, then it went to, I don't know, right? It went all around. Well, then I had somebody coming back saying, well, I can do it for this much cheaper and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, whoa, okay. I didn't know we were going that far. Okay. So I chose to ignore it. I didn't fight on it because I didn't want to start something because people just keep going, especially behind a computer screen, So I just let it be. But I learned from that, so I'm very careful now on my audience, what I choose, and I mean, of course, I target my surrounding area.
Yes.
I do have business out of Atascosa County, but that's word of mouth. So.
Yes. Very good. Yeah. I mean, it's a mixed bag.
Yes.
And so it's kind of like this is that old joke where the guy goes to the doctor and says, every time I go like this, it hurts. And the doctor says, well, don't go like that. It's like, in business, it's like you try things, right, based on what you think might work, and maybe parts of it work, and you're like, okay, then do more of that. Mm-hmm. And you try things that don't work, and you're like, okay.
Right.
I guess I'll not do that.
You learn quick.
Yeah, because
it's so hard because I agree with you. You know, it's like when I see a local doing
Very well.
I like and share, but I'm very limited of what I do because it's scary.
it is.
It is scary, you know, and I'm happy when they prosper because we're all in this together.
Yes.
We're not against it, we're together.
Yes.
And it is scary, especially when it becomes something so minor that you were thinking something good and it becomes a debate.
Yes. So when I do things, I'm very careful, I mean, I don't want to say strategic, but I'm very cautious and careful what I do when I do things for that reason, especially like for instance with this Uvalde. Like normally I will make something just to show support, like little stickers or something. I did that for the last young man that passed away from here. But I'm very careful. I'm giving them away. I'm not selling anything because I don't want somebody to come back and say, oh, you're making money off of a poor child's death.
Yes.
So, because people will do that. And you still sometimes get people saying, oh, it's a part of advertising, or I'm just trying to draw people to my store, or you still get things like that, unfortunately. And I'm just trying to show support and love for the families, or, that. So I have to be very careful, and I get careful with my audience. And people will come in and they test you, or they'll say, can I give a donation? No, I'm not taking any donation.
There will always be trolls.
Yes.
You can't please everybody.
Exactly.
There will always be trolls. Which probably brings us to, let's talk market segmentation, because I like this topic a lot. I've gotten in trouble with it. When I was a banker, one time I fired a client who was very wealthy. And Oswald Brown was my mentor. He told me, he's like, Angel, did you fire a client so-and-so, Mr. Smith? It's like, yes. And let me tell you why. And after I explained it to him, like I was about to explain it to you, he was like, okay, that makes sense. Don't do it. So, market segmentation.
Yes, Kim.
Yes, absolutely. I've done it.
So, sophisticated, or they get it and they don't get it, I guess is better. So, get it, don't get it. You're about to engage with somebody in your business. So maybe they're they come in to get a tattoo.
That's been my favorite thing lately.
Right?
I don't know why.
Do they maybe they don't have a tattoo, but maybe they're in a family of tattoos. Maybe their dad owned a tattoo. Like they get it. Like they know what the how it's going to go.
Yeah.
Right? But you might have some people that you think maybe they have a tattoo, but like maybe it's like, I don't know, a home kit or something. Like they don't get it. So when you're talking and prospecting, you have to ask questions and figure out whether they get it or not. If you're talking like insurance, I mean, you might have a lady that pulls up in a Jag and has a big fur coat, has all this money, and says, I went to school at MIT and I have a PhD. But she has no idea about anything about insurance, about nothing. Like,
Why is it so expensive?
Doesn't
Because your car's
get
expensive to fix.
So you have to figure out, this is the key first part of market segmentation. Do they get it? Do they not get it? And that's where then from a sales funnel, how you're going to handle it. Okay? From here, the sub-segmentation is, do they value you or they don't value you? Value, don't value. We're all busy. Time is money. So ideally, if in a perfect world, if you dream the best story of your movie of life in your business, then you would, which one would you want? The ones that get it or don't get it?
Get it.
The ones that get it, right? They come in, they're like, hey, I used to own an insurance company, I have all these licenses, I get it, I need a term life, 20 certain, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, you get it. So then you have to figure out, do they value you? And then they're like, maybe they say all these things that they get it, but then they're like, but you know what? I'm smarter and better than you, and you can't sell me on nothing, and I know what I love. And you're like, oh my gosh. And they don't value you. But ideally, what happens if they did? They're like, you know what? And a friend of mine referred me and this and that, and you're whatever you recommend because I don't know anything anymore. And here, help me. And you're like, great. I say this, and they're like, great. And then it's the quickest sale you'll ever make when they get it and they value it. But the most rewarding that I have found is when they don't get it. Right? They've never had a tattoo. But they want something new. Something's happened in their life. Their grandma passed away or something, and they want something new. Remember that. And you taking the time to explain the process to find the right fit for that memory, and they value you, it's the most rewarding thing as a business owner. You shake your head like maybe you've had something like that, right?
A lot, yes.
Right? It's a beautiful thing. Because life is not just making money, it's about money and purpose. You gotta find that balance. Right? So that's market segmentation. And ideally, when they don't value you and they don't get it, these are the ones that I fire. Fire. They're poison, they'll eat up your time, they'll kill your business. You can say, hey, I don't think this is gonna work out. I'd be happy to give you a list. Here's a list of 3 people that are insurance agents in the area. You're more than welcome to give them a call. And of course, make sure that they're people that you like. Right? But market segmentation is really key to have some kind of system to where in the sales cycle that you have to figure out where people are in the sales funnel. So questions on that? Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, let's do sales. Marketing 101, we also said that was a hot topic. So sales is a real key. The way I learned sales is based off of trust. And in order to sell anything, whether it's a service or a product, you have to have a high level of trust in 3 areas. A product or service you're selling. The salesperson selling it. Someone gets the last one? The customer. The organization backing the two. So the customer, the prospect, from like a 1 to a 5, 5 being the highest. Old school sales, when it was like you were doing paid advertising, old school sales. If you've ever watched the movie Glenn Ross, has anybody watched that old movie? ABC. That's sales, old school sales 101. Anybody know what ABC stands for, old school sales?
You're talking to young people.
Always be closing. Think of if you've ever gone onto a used car lot, they never say no. You're buying that car. Like, hey, you ready to send the paperwork? Ready to send the paperwork? Let's send the paperwork. You need this car? Let's sign the paperwork. It's just, they're always asking for you to sign the paperwork. That's old school sales. That doesn't work anymore. Actually, I don't think it ever worked. Just people maybe just get worn down.
It's frustrating. I don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I hate to go to Sam's and they're just, do you want this? Do you want to sample this? Can we shop, please? If I want this stuff, I want to shop. That's just how I am. Yeah.
And they'll ask you each time you pass.
Yeah. Or they're following you up the aisle, and I'm like, I just.
How are we doing on time? Let me know if you guys want a break or, because this is a lot of stuff to run through. Okay. So this is the angel version. Other people have other versions, but I use TBC. Timely be closed. Don't even ask for the business, but definitely ask for the business. That's probably one of the biggest mistakes or things that businesses forget to do. You think about going to the dentist, they don't go sit down with you and go like, hey, I would love to be your dentist. Can I be your dentist? No, they just shovel you in there like a cow or whatever, and you sit down, you do whatever they tell you to do. But they never really ask for your business. And a lot of businesses do. They just kind of assume, but they never ask for the business. And that's key. But you should do it when trust is at least at a 4. If it's at a 3 or below, don't ask. Right? And part of sales is to ask open-ended questions. To test trust. Right? And which is kind of scary sometimes, because if you're talking to someone and let's pick on like the art store classes, right? So when you're trying to get someone to come to sign up for classes, and they're like, I don't know if I want to do that. And then you're like, well, but you said that you want to learn art, stuff you believe, like that's helpful. Like, oh yeah, I believe like it makes us smarter and it's a great thing to do and we should all do it and I definitely do it. Okay, so then they just told you they believe in your service. So they're like a 4 or 5 there. And then you're like, well, so, I've been doing this business in this community for a while, so we have great setup and, we've been established for 20 years or whatever, and we got great equipment. Oh yeah, no, I know about the store, and it's a beautiful facility, right? Has great stuff and everything, and okay, so and it has a money back guarantee I hear, so if I don't like it, I can get my money back. Yeah. So they believe in the organization back in the product or service. Well, what's left?
Them.
Somehow there's a disconnect between the salesperson making the ask and them for some reason.
Yeah.
Who knows what it is? But then that's where maybe you shift them to another salesperson. There's like techniques on that. There's something there.
It's a lack of confidence in him. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Figure that one out.
Yeah, and so, but it's all about trust. You have to figure out how to build that trust and move that number up higher.
You have to read your customers and just communicate with them on their level,
Yeah.
Because that's a lot with me. I have to, let them know that I know what I'm doing and I'm confident in myself and my product and everything, but then also with them to let them know I'm here for you to help you bring what's in your mind to life on a shirt or on a sign or whatever, and that I can do that.
Yes. So, TBC, time to be closing, trying to figure out getting these from a 1 to a 5 in these areas. And then, I know this is hard, because I've struggled with this, because I'm a talker.
No.
Every time you engage somebody that's a prospect, you're supposed to keep the talk within the boundaries of your product or service. But then sometimes they're like, well, what about, like, it's hunting season coming up? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, and you start talking about hunting season. And you got to pull them. Hey, well, let's get back to the...
Yeah. Like, I have people come in for consultations because I do brows, eyeliner, right? And I get a lot of order claims, right? Because when their hands are shaking, they can't see, or they just have trouble drawing on their brows or whatever. And I first ask them, like, either see which way I want to go, like, what don't you like about your brows? Or what are your brow goals? And then they're like, oh, well, I don't like this, but I was just worried about this. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I offer 2 types of brows, and I tell them, you know, a little bit about it, and then they're asking about microblading. And just like you said, so they're going a little off subject. That's not what I do. And I'm like, yeah, so the thing about microblading is a little different, da-da-da. And then I bring them back into what I'm talking about. Hey, what's good about what I do? It's good for all skin types. It lasts longer. I'm not cutting your skin. It's going to, you know what I mean? So same thing. They'll start, you know, drifting away because they're thinking traditional permanent makeup, either Sharpie brows or microblading. And I'm like, no, putting a stop to it. Look, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm thinking for you. Yes, they don't know what it is exactly. So
that's good.
I've learned that works out a little bit.
And it sounds like you're being, I love this word, authentic.
I try to be.
But ultimately, in trust building, you're not going to get every single person to convert. You just have to accept that fact. There's some people who will never connect. It's needs-based selling. They have a need, then you fill it. They don't really have a need. Or if there's some issues there in trust, maybe you'll get them, you know, a year from now, or 6 months from now, or whatever. It's a process. It's a numbers game. So authentic is really important. Just be true to who you are as a person in your business. One of my favorite verses for me as a storyteller. Wow, there's all women here. So this is a good story. You may not know this. Her name is Alice. Alice, hold on. What's her? Blonde shade. Alice Key is pronounced Key. She's French. Alice Louis Blanchet. She is arguably, nobody knows her, but she's the first cinematic female film director. Google her. It's amazing. She is amazing. Even before women's suffrage, she made like 1,000 movies. Like, she kicks Spielberg and all those other quote-unquote famous men, film directors' butts. Alice G. Blanchet. And her authentic word was be natural. She allowed her actors and stuff to just, the way she did casting and stuff. So, like, there was an actor that just had a anger issue, like just was always angry. He's like, oh, I need to cast you in a role that I need someone angry. And then they're like, well, how should I play this role? Like, no, just be yourself, be natural. You're just angry already. Just do that.
They'll take it as you.
But in sales and in trust building, I'm a proponent of Alice D. Blanchet's Be Natural philosophy. It's very important. Also, I'll give you another one that's along the same lines. One of my guiding principles of PR Story Studios and what I do is something called F8 and Be There. Has anybody ever heard that? Anybody into photography? It comes from photography. It comes from a guy named Ouija. Arthur Felick. Arthur. He's a photographer. And he was known for taking really gritty crime scene, black and white photography. I think Chicago or New York, or both. And, like, people were just blown away by his photography, and they was always asking him, like, what's the setting on your camera? Like, what lenses are you using? And, like, your f-stops and your aperture setting and all these different things. And he would shut them up all and say this. F8 and be there, man. And what he was saying was, when they kind of got him to explain it further, was in a camera, how much light is coming in and out is controlled by an aperture, right? And our eyes, our pupils in our eyes are natural apertures that let light in and out for us to see. And in all things being equal in regular light and setting, we are walking around with an F8 aperture setting. Which, what he was saying was, I don't get caught up all into the details of what lenses and this and that. the true art and magic of photography that I have the privilege to be present at a moment in time in life that I get to capture. So half the battle is just showing up. And so even though it comes from photography, there's a lot of marketers that have started incorporating things like this into today's success in marketing. Just be natural, be present, show up, be your authentic self, be transparent. So these are other my biases and things that have helped me and other people that I've consulted or have seen have found success.
So I've had something different happen with the whole storytelling scenario. So I go to a lot of different craft fairs with my wreaths, and I'm always saying hello to anybody who walks by, and sometimes we'll just start talking, and it'll be on any odd subject that comes up, and I will feel like, okay, I need them to move along so that the customer can come in, and I start getting that anxious feeling. But then they'll stand there for maybe 10 minutes talking to me, and they'll be like, you know, I can't keep my eyes off that wreath over there. I think I want that. And they'll end up buying from me.
Yeah.
And so it's something, it's outside of the parameters, but it works.
It's because you're authentic and you're talking and you're being yourself and they're feeling comfortable, and then they're like, you know what, I want to support her and I really like her work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But she's actually a true storyteller.
Yeah. There's a
She does dolls.
there's a
Angel. She does
yes,
dolls.
no. There's a funny scene in you all seen Forrest Gump?
Yes.
So there's a technique when like you're not making a connection as a salesperson to somebody, you can Forrest Gump them as a marketing sort of like a little tidbit where there's a disconnect and you don't have trust, and so you use a scene like in Forrest Gump where he's going to school for the first time, and so his mom kisses him and he's waiting at the bus stop and the bus pulls up, right, and then the bus driver opens the door. And he just stands there like processing. And then she's like, well, aren't you going to come up or what's going on? He's like, well, Mama says not to talk to strangers. So there's no trust there. Well, she's thinking like, okay, we're at an impasse, right? And then he thinks in his little Forrest Gump brain, oh, I'm Forrest Gump. And he introduces himself. And then she goes, well, I'm Viola. I can't remember her name. You know, I was like, well, now we're not strangers anymore. And he gets up. So if you're in a relationship trying to build trust, and I've done this hundreds of times, you have to back up. Sometimes you go like, hey, let's start again. My name is Angel Martinez. I'm from Brownsville, Texas. Like, I play basketball. I did this. I did it. You kind of throw out some things to see if something connects with them. And they're like, oh, you play basketball. I play. And then you can go down and rabbit hole of building trust based off the fact that you both play basketball or whatever. But the Forrest Gump technique is, I think that's a genius way to try to reestablish some kind of footing to make a relationship. Storytelling. Look. Question?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so ideas on sales growth and marketing campaigns. I want to go to storytelling. Okay. Because ultimately I'm a content storytelling marketer. Does anybody know what content is? What is considered content? So content could be words.
I was going to say your pictures, your videos.
Your pictures, your videos, your infographics. That's all your audio clips. That's all content. Now, content back in the day was pretty much all words and occasionally a picture. But what's happening now? How many people are reading? You think that's going up for them?
Yeah.
It's going down. Social media is part of that. Instagram started as what? What was their main content when Instagram launched? Pictures. So the head of Instagram recently said, our algorithm is not rewarding pictures anymore. You must use Reels. If you don't use Reels, we are not going to reward you. You're not going to get any traction. So content now is very video heavy. So if there's any best practice in terms of how to get traction with content marketing, is with videos. So what's the goal of a content marketer? Everybody? Goal is to create valuable stories and valuable to who?
The person
Not to you. You might think like, oh, I just wrote and did a cute little video clip. It's great. It's got to be valuable to who you're selling to. If they don't value it, then you have to try again. So create valuable stories for your clients or potential clients.
I feel like what's helped me the most is me, before being a tattoo artist, I wanted to be a teacher. And I never thought I could tattoo, which is why I was like, I'm going to teach. But I like informing people, so I felt like even like tattooing, I still inform them of my services and why they're different than other services or what I can do for you. But I think that's the thing that draws people in is like explaining why this is a good idea, why this is better, why you need this. And then I just leave it like, okay, so just let me know. No pressure at all. You get back with me when you can. You know what I mean? And just leave it open, and then they're always like, oh, well, I want to book today. Well, you know.
And that's just it. It's not always what you know.
Yes.
It's the education of teaching.
Yes.
Just because I know something doesn't mean everybody else knows.
Exactly.
I think that's the most valuable is to be able to share what you know, because everybody else thinks like, okay, I'm just sending a package, but it's not just sending a package.
Yes.
You don't want it to get damaged. If it was something fragile that you made, you don't just put it in an old Amazon box with toilet paper in it. Which
Angel Sarah has her own UPS store here in Pleasanton.
So I always want and I always tell, and they say it all the time, the staff is, remember what you didn't know when you walked in, and that's what I want you to say. What you didn't know, because before you worked here, you didn't know that.
Yes.
So the person on that side doesn't know.
Exactly. And that gets to the trust. How do you build trust? As a salesperson, some of the ways you build trust is dressing the part, learning your craft, educating yourself in anything and everything of the product or service you sell, where you can, just like that, and just have passion. People react and buy off of passion, right? So very, very important. So goal for content marketing is to create valuable stories for your clients or potential clients and grow eyeballs to your own media platform and appear in more searches. So, and the more you create content and the more it exists, and when I say content, because content can also be a flyer or something, but arguably that's not part of content marketing because that's not searching. It has to be digital that could be searched, right? Where you can say, Alexa, where's the closest pizza place? Or where's the closest place for me to mail a package? Right? And if there's content out there that Alexa can search, oh, I found a place. Yes. Like that. So, content marketing, creating as much as you can in words, pictures, video, graphics, especially video. Supposedly words on a blog by itself, and then you put a picture in there. A picture is 100% more sticky than just the words by itself. And then you stick a little short form video. Short form video is less than 2 minutes. It jumps the stickiness to 400% on the blog. So.
What I don't think I can probably listen.
This is open.
What I found was helpful anyways. Like I'll post like a video with my information and everything, and then I put booking and website, and I put a link, right? And my link, it doesn't link you just to my website. I have a link tree, and it'll say website, frequently asked questions, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and they'll all have direct links to all of those. So the link that says booking a website directs you to another link that has a list of everything. So with that being said, you know, they go just for the website, but they're like, she's on TikTok, click, follow, you know what I mean? And I honestly felt like I've reached a lot more people and got a lot more engagement going that route versus just directing them directly to my website. I know you don't like super love social media, but, you know, I feel like the more people see it, the more people who, you know, it'll reach more. And
She's been very well for 21 by the way.
Oh, that's great. Great. So we're running out of time. I think I have 5 or 6 more minutes. So I wanted to get one more topic for sure that I think is good best practice that I have found useful, and I think I've seen a lot of businesses find use in it, is in the story of content, storytelling marketing, is to tell a story, is I use Joseph Campbell. Has anybody heard of Joseph Campbell? Joseph Campbell was a professor in the 30s, 40s, and did a lot of research on religion and cultures of the world, trying to find what unites us or are there any similarities. And what he found in his research was that story was what unites us. Regardless if you're Baptist, Buddhist, Muslim, whatever, Indian, we all are like story, right? And he became buddies with George, that created arguably the most commercial and culturally relevant story ever, Star Wars. So George Lucas became buddies with this dude, and then George Lucas said, I'm going to use all your research, and I'm going to create this elaborate world based off of it called Star Wars. And so there's a lot of marketers who are starting to look at and go back to his research and apply it to business. And is everybody familiar with like Star Wars and like Luke Skywalker, the hero, and then like who's Yoda, right? It's his mentor guy. So in storytelling, a lot of businesses sometimes default to having the story of like, been in business for 20 years, I'm an expert, I'm awesome, that's why you should buy from me. Versus using the Joseph Campbell Star Wars approach, which is, I am a business, but I am your Yoda. I am your guide. Right? So you have some kind of problem, and I can guide you through this adventure to help solve your problem so that your customer is the hero. You make your customer. And that little pivot there has been a huge growth strategy for a lot of businesses over the last 10 years. They've pivoted around coming back to this dude's research. His book, if you want to read it, is called A Hero with 1,000 Faces. Some of it's kind of heady, it's got a lot of research in it. If you want one that's simpler, there's a gentleman named Donald Miller. Donald Miller took Joseph Campbell's stuff and created a series of books, and one of them is called Story Brand. It's an easy read. And it has a lot of stuff that covers stuff like this: sales growth and marketing campaigns. If there's any book I would tell you to go read, it'd be that one, Donald.
I know that your company has a new product that you're pushing.
Yes, it's just perfect softball. Okay, so
Twist my arm.
yes. So I didn't. This is just going on my own journey. I was networking with my son Joseph. We became members of a place called Geekdom, which is like a co-office sharing space in San Antonio, where then you pay so much money as a member and you can use your conference space and stuff. All the things that I would complain about, like, man, it's so expensive to do video and this and that, I wish. Even though I'm a videographer, it's a lot of work to do pre-production, to take a shoot, multiple clips, and then to edit it all together. It's a lot. And so the app does it for me. It prompts, it's called prompt video.